Hello again, everyone. I'm Becky Andrews. Here's some trivia for you. What world-famous musician spent a summer here in Wilson County? I'll give you a hint. His initials are Paul McCartney. On this episode, we'll talk with a man who spent some time with the Beatles frontman and his family and find out about an effort he has to keep the historic visit alive. And we'll wrap up with a chat with the Public Information Officer for the Lebanon Police Department about what the department is going to be doing this summer for kids. Stay here. Walking Through Wilson is coming up now. Welcome to Walking Through Wilson. Today's a treat. We have two guests as our first guest, and it's a big year for Lebanon, Wilson County. It's the 200th anniversary of the founding of Lebanon, but it's also the 45th anniversary of a really big event when Paul McCartney came to Lebanon and stayed for 6 weeks, and he stayed on your farm, Troy Putman.
Thank you. Yes, that's right. Wow, it's hard to believe.
Tell us about it. How old were you?
I was 12 years old.
12 years old?
Yes.
That had to be a big deal.
It was. Maybe not as, probably bigger than I realized at the time, but I later became a bigger fan, of course, of the Beatles and realized how influential he was and remains to this day, you know. But it seemed like it was somewhat of a dream, you know. It was summer of 1974, and we'd moved to Lebanon in 1971, so we had a home, a farm. Mm-hmm. At first we had cattle, but my dad was a songwriter, so he realized quickly he didn't want to raise cattle. So we moved to Lebanon. The house had two houses on the farm. It's 130 acres, had a big colonial home, and then it had what was called like a tenant house, mm-hmm. or a farmhouse down on the road, a barn, about a 7-acre lake. We had horses. And
so how did it happen that Paul McCartney and his family, mm-hmm. or his wife and Wings, they all came down here? So how did that all happen?
Yes. So my dad, we moved to Nashville in 1963. And my dad soon thereafter became a songwriter, got a job with Tree Publishing Company. Later it became Sony ATV. But originally it was Tree International, Tree Publishing Company. Buddy Killen, who was a vice president and at the time was one of my dad's best friends. He's the one that hired my dad to be a song plugger at that time, which was a guy that sort of listened to all the music and gathered up tapes and played them to people who were going to the studio to record. And that's what my dad, that's kind of honed his writing skills doing that for a long time. And he had a rather large song in 1965 called The Green, Green Grass of Home, which is, at last counts, been recorded probably over 700 times in most every language.
So they had some ties in the music community.
Tree Publishing Company had a corporate attorney named Lee Eastman, and that's Linda McCartney's dad. And they were come out of New York City. And they notified Buddy, hey, they want to come and spend some time in Middle Tennessee and Nashville. They want to hang out, hide out. They want to tour. They want to look around. They want to lay low. And so Dad and Buddy started looking around. They started driving through Williamson County, looking at places. Nothing seemed to fit. And Buddy kept asking Dad, why don't you just let them rent your farm to them? Dad was reluctant at first. Probably wasn't sure my mom would approve. Mm-hmm. You know, to let the rock star come into the to the house. But lo and behold, it played out and turned out to be a wonderful thing, certainly. And who would have thought?
And somebody else that probably remembers that well is a musician here in town.
Right, me.
Yes, Bryan.
Right.
Tick, how old were you when all this happened?
I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
And the buzz was mm-hmm. in town. And a lot of people made multiple trips out there to the farm to see if they could catch a glimpse of Paul. And a lot of people did. You know, he was a very friendly guy, and he would always come down, give autographs, talk to people, just driving up and wanting to talk to him.
That's what you were saying, he's really open to people just coming up and taking
cool
pictures.
Guy, though I never got to meet him. My wife did.
Right.
And she also happened to almost kill him.
Okay, well, tell the story.
Yeah. Troy had a motorcycle hid in the barn. Mm-hmm. and he hid it there to keep them from finding it, you know. But of course they found it, and they started. Paul loved motorcycles, and they would ride it into town, no helmets or anything. And he was on the square shopping one day, and my wife and her friend was going around the square and saw that motorcycle. They knew, they had got word that he was in town on a motorcycle. So they followed him all the way back out to the farm right behind him. So they pulled a Duke boys and pulled up beside them, and probably around a curve, and my wife hung out the window with a pencil and paper. "Can I have your autograph?" And he, of course, they had groceries and things. He looked over at her and said, "Not at this moment." You know. So they just let him go.
He was so polite.
Oh yeah,
he was so polite.
Yeah, they're real cool people. And we also have some photos.
Right.
If you want to look at some
and you
of those.
started a Facebook page. It was in 2014, and that was to celebrate kind of the 40th anniversary of this. And you've gotten a lot of new photos, photos that some people didn't even know existed.
Oh yeah, there are plenty of people in town in Lebanon that have a lot of photos of them and Paul, or catching them in town. This is Kenneth Harrison.
Right.
He was hired to help them with the horses. He was friends with Greg, and that's Paul and Linda.
Greg, my brother.
Greg was your brother,
yeah.
right?
And he took a lot of pictures himself. Well, I ended up finding those pictures through his son, Davis Harrison.
Yeah.
And I scanned them and put them on there, and that's where a lot of these came from. There's another one. There's Kenneth, Lynn Cantrell. There's Vicki Eads now. That was Greg's wife at the time.
Yes, I know Vicki.
And Gina.
Yes, Gina was right there.
Vicki was expecting.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and now this is...
This is Paul, and...
who is this right here?
That is...
Bohan.
Yeah, Mike Bohan.
Mike Bohan.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he does look familiar.
And you know who took that picture? There were a lot. I got a lot of those from Mike off his page, but Coyote McLeod made all these pictures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he went with him, and Mike asked him.
That does look.
He said, "You interview him, and I'll take the pictures." So Coyote took all the pictures.
And
all
I love those Mike.
Yeah, let's check the next one. Okay, there's Troy's in the
Now
Putman's
I will
place.
say this was there was a spread on the Banner at that time. The Nashville Banner was another. There was two dailies back then, and that was one of their photographers that came out and did a style section cover on them being here, and I've got that somewhere at home.
Now, is that your motorcycle, or is that the one they bought?
That's the one they bought.
Okay.
And mine was a sort of a trail bike. Wasn't really suited for street. But that is our farm, and it's the house. The footings is still there, but the home has been changed a lot. We just sold that about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Lived out there until then.
Okay.
Now, you can't see it here. You probably will on the edited version, but that is Troy's bike there.
That's
you can
Troy's
tell.
bike. I can see the handlebar.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller, and that's
Now,
Denny Lane. He's in Wings, and Jimmy McCullough. He was the lead guitar player.
Okay.
And they did tour with Wings later when they did the big Wings Over America, Wings Over the World tour.
Wow. And now, didn't you say, are these the photos that somebody found in the housekeeper's estate and they auctioned them off?
Well, we'll get to those. I think that first one was that. Now, this one, Paul first got to
Pretty
Lebanon.
sure that's when he first got there. If not, it was the day before they left.
Now, who's this?
That was a road manager there. I
Okay.
can't think of his name, and that's my dad, Curly Putman.
Oh,
in the
okay.
blue shirt there, and I think that was maybe on the trip back because they got there in the evening.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah, they got there at night. Now that I recollect.
Well, was it dark when they got there? So not
It
just a
was
late
dark.
summer afternoon,
No,
maybe?
it was dark when they arrived.
Now, who are these? Is that Linda?
That's Paul and Linda. That's Jackie McCall Davenport. I graduated high school with her.
Okay.
They were going. That's her two sisters. They were going swimming, and their mom was taking them swimming, and they saw them out there on the horses, so they pulled over and they came up to them and made pictures.
Now, who made this picture again?
That was
the mom?
Jackie's mom.
Oh my
made that
gosh.
picture.
And so is this a new one that you had not seen?
No,
in a
I've
long
had
time?
that. Jackie got me that one, but we've had that for quite a while now. But but the later ones, let's go to the next one and see if that's. Now this is another early one. That's Doug Haney. He just happened to walk up. He's a local Lebanon musician.
That name sounds familiar, yeah.
And Paul and them were riding horses, and that was his either wife or girlfriend at the time. I can't remember which, but that's how friendly Paul was to the locals. You know,
Yeah.
he'd come right up and, you know, he got into it. You know?
Yeah, yeah. He probably knew it felt safe too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh wow, and this one.
Yeah, that's one Coyote took. That's when they did the interviews and for the radio, and you see WKDA.
KDF. Wasn't it? That was KD 103.3. That was KDF later on.
Yeah, later. Yeah.
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 Oh wow.
And,
Look at that jump. Is that a jumpsuit?
no, that's just.
It looks good. Only he could
Yeah.
pull it off.
I used to have a shirt just like that.
Really?
Okay, are there any more?
Well, so the shoes too?
Yeah, my boots, Beetle boots.
It's like
Okay.
Woody from Toy Story, right? That's what that
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that the butterfly collar?
Yeah.
Yeah. But those are in. I like stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that now. Yeah. I like
Is that it?
Is that the
That's
last
all the
one?
pictures? Okay, go back to the first one.
There are so many. I mean, you have a ton.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little bit about these pictures. I'd never seen these pictures before, and till Davis Harrison gave me copies of them. I scanned them, put them on there. He contacted me.
Yeah.
And after I had them on there just for a short while, some gentleman from France contacted me and said, "Where's the rest of the pictures?" I said, "What do you mean? How do you know that there are any more left?" He said, I took pictures of the pictures when they were at an auction when Paul's
The
housekeeper passed
right.
away. They had an estate sale, and those copies of those pictures were in that sale. And he was wanting, so I scanned them and gave
Wow.
him some too. But Davis still has all the original pictures, and Kenneth had mailed them to Paul. He had his address,
And that must be how the
that's how the
housekeeper-
housekeeper ended up with
Right.
them. So.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to know how much those all went for. Too.
Oh yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd like to know that myself.
So it was a big deal. It's a big deal now to think about it
Sure.
that happened.
Sure.
It is.
So what do you got? You've got this Facebook page
Yeah,
that
it's
a lot of and give me
Wings Over Lebanon, Tennessee, 1974.
Wings Over Lebanon, Tennessee, 1974. That's Facebook. You can
Yeah.
fan it and you can look at all this stuff and,
Yes.
and contribute. Like you
Yes.
want people to share their stories
Sure.
of
Share their stories and their photos or just whatever they got. Even the housekeeper
Mm-hmm.
that was helping them out, she's has a photo on there. They did a little write up about her.
wow.
And they always had picnics and get-togethers. Roy Orbison was there.
Oh.
Johnny Cash. A bunch of people from Nashville would come. And
to be a fly on the wall. Oh,
great
and
story.
then the guitar.
This
There's a
is
reason you're holding
I
that
brought
guitar.
this is certainly a family heirloom. My dad owned this for a long time, really before this all went down. And this was in our home. And
This is the night they got there? Is this the night they got there?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So on the night that they arrived, we'd greeted them. We had food and just refreshments. Got to know everybody, and showing them around. And then we were about to vacate and get out of the way. And we had a plane. We were getting out of town for 5-6 weeks. And I'm speaking to my mom and dad and myself, a minor at 12 years old. Greg, my brother, who you saw the picture of, stayed. And they paid him weekly to sort of stand guard at the gate.
Right.
Well, this guitar was back in my dad's study, and there was just 4 of us, myself and my mom, who passed away in January, Paul and Linda, who is deceased now. And so nobody can vouch for this story except me and Paul. But
So call me. Call
yeah,
me.
that's right. If he wants to add or elaborate. So, of course, my dad plays just like Tick, right-handed, and it's strung for a right-handed person. And I will never forget, the album had come out because there were left a lot of signed copies of that classic, what I think is a classic, Band on the Run album. And so he turned the guitar upside down and was strumming and building his chords upside down and playing strumming upside down, and started singing the opening verse of A Band on the Run.
Right.
And she was over his shoulders, again, I had that memory, her hands on his shoulders, and started singing some backup harmony as he broke into, then he broke into the chorus.
Oh, wow.
But I brought that along. I thought, Tick, I don't play guitar, my boys do.
Right.
But this has certainly remained in my family, and we keep it with a lot of my dad's.
And I don't know that you're going to get it back from Tick. He
Yeah,
has a pretty
that's
tight
right.
hold on it
we
today.
We can rent it out. We're saying
Well, if that could talk, if that guitar could talk, that is so
But
interesting.
he was later credited. My dad, in his early life, he was a junior. Claude Putman Jr. is his name. And once he got to Nashville, he was penned the name Curly somehow. Somebody gave him that name, Curly Putman. But all of his early bylines, his credits were Claude Putman Jr. And he wrote a hit called Junior's Farm, and everybody's assumed, and it makes a lot of sense because it was right after that summer.
Right.
And it went to the number one. It went number one in the charts for Paul McCartney and Wings.
So the 45th anniversary, anything special planned?
Not that I know.
Paul McCartney coming to town?
Yeah, I've called him.
You have?
No, but he I don't know.
Did you send him a Facebook message?
Yeah, but he, there's, just like Troy had said once before, there's no telling how many times he did what he did in Lebanon, stayed in different places.
It's hard to say, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What an impression he left, probably wherever he was.
Right, wherever he was, but, to him, it's probably no big deal. It's a lot bigger deal to us,
Right.
But I'm just grateful to have,
Been here when it happened and have the memories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
And
fabulous.
I'll play a little bit of the song
Okay.
that Paul wrote about Junior's
With a
Farm.
guitar that
Yeah, with
Paul
the guitar.
played.
And
Yeah.
this is Junior's Farm, and it went number one.
That's right.
The summer after he came
And
here.
Paul probably wrote this song on this guitar. I don't know that he did, but I would say he probably did.
Paul, if you're out there, confirm, deny.
You should have seen me with a polka man. I had no money and I bet $1,000. Just the nick of time I looked at his hand. I was talking to an Eskimo, said he was hoping for a fall of snow. Went up off the sea line ready to go. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go down to Junior's farm where I wanna lay low. Low life, high life, go, let's go. Take me down to Junior's farm. Let's go down to Junior's farm where I wanna lay low. Low life, high life, go, let's go. Take me down to Junior's farm. Everybody tag along.
Very good.
Got that.
Now, everybody.
Thank you. Isn't that good?
That is awesome. That's really good. You're not going to
you.
get that guitar back up.
Yeah, the words don't have to make sense when you
No,
write
none
them.
of those
But you know
words.
how-
Yeah, he could probably sing the ABCs
Yeah.
and make a hit out of it.
I know, but how many songs did he actually write about those places? I mean,
Yes.
he may have done this a lot, but I think
Sure,
that's pretty interesting.
sure.
Thank you
Junior's
guys
Farm.
so much for joining us
Sure,
today and
sure.
telling. I mean, we could go on and on. There's a
Sure.
lot to tell
lot of
here.
fun, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is. It is.
Enjoyed
And
it.
so hopefully that we'll have something spectacular come up on the 45th
We hope
anniversary
so.
we can do.
We're hoping.
Yeah, you're behind it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're thinking Bonnaroo out on Franklin Road.
Yeah, you can call it Bonahoo.
That's right.
Thank you again, guys, for joining us.
All right.
All right.
Low life, high life, go, let's go. Take me down to Junior's farm. Let's go down to Junior's farm where I wanna lay low. Low life, high life, go, let's go. Take me down to Junior's farm. Everybody tag along.
Got that.
Everybody.
Thank you. Isn't that good? Isn't that great?